Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something that's absolutely fascinating yet so often misunderstood: the empirical data behind management culture in Iran. By analyzing a really comprehensive study, one that looks at how professionals in the region rank their own technical, human, and conceptual abilities, we're going to draw some incredibly valuable insights that you can actually apply to modern organizations and global teams.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a great structured journey mapped out for us today. We're going to start by setting the stage with the Iranian workplace context, then define the three core management skills, check out the actual skill rankings to see what dominates, and unpack the gender divide. After that, we'll see exactly why age and experience matters so much, and finally, wrap the whole thing up with actionable takeaways you can use in your own organization.
So kicking things off with Section 1, the Iranian workplace context.
A lot of times Western media paints a pretty oversimplified, almost one-dimensional picture of Iran. But if you're managing a multinational corporation or studying global business, that superficial image, it simply doesn't cut it. You'd be totally missing out on the highly complex, transitional reality of a modern workforce. To really get it, we have to look at this staggering demographic statistic. Roughly 70% of Iran's population is under the age of 30. Think about that for a second. That creates immense continuous pressure on the country to provide education and meaningful employment. What you have is a massive, young, highly educated talent pool entering a job market that is just trying to rapidly transition and expand.
And this young workforce is operating within a totally unique cultural and historical framework. It's really like a giant puzzle. The workplace culture is deeply influenced by a rich heritage going all the way back to 3000 BC, with the ancient Persian civilization, which established a very strong respect for authority and hierarchical distance. Then, jump forward to 1979, and the Islamic Revolution led to the massive nationalization of the public sector. This was quickly followed by an intense 8-year war economy in the 1980s. But then, from the 1990s to the present day, we see this huge era of reconstruction. Iran has actually been transitioning toward a market economy, trying to balance its deep ideological traditions with the very real demands of global economic efficiency. So it's a complex, highly hierarchical environment that is very much in flux.
Moving right along to Section 2, the three management skills.
Against that complex backdrop we just talked about, researchers surveyed 421 working adults across both the public and private sectors in Iran to figure out exactly how these professionals operate. But to measure this properly, we first have to agree on what we mean by management. A foundational definition from the study puts it perfectly. Management is the achievement of organizational goals with and through people using available resources in the most efficient manner possible. And to pull that off effectively, managers can't just rely on gut instinct. They require a very specific set of tools.
Those tools are broken down into three fundamental categories. First up, we've got technical skills. This is your job-specific knowledge, the hands-on, everyday techniques you need to actually do the work. Second, human skills. This is your ability to understand, lead, motivate, and just generally communicate with people. And third, conceptual skills. Now, this is the cognitive ability to analyze complex situations, see the big picture, and really understand cause and effect. While technical skills are incredibly common and honestly vital at lower levels of management, it's those conceptual skills that become absolutely crucial for top-tier, strategic decision-making.
Which brings us to Section 3, Skill Rankings. Let's see what actually dominates in this environment.
Now, what's really interesting about this data is the overall breakdown. Out of a maximum score of 30, the 421 respondents self-reported their highest proficiency in technical skills, scoring at 23.84. This was followed pretty closely by human skills at 23.36. But look at conceptual skills. They're lagging behind at 22.66. Now, don't get me wrong, all these scores are relatively high, which tells us we're looking at a very capable workforce. But it's abundantly clear that immediate, job-specific technical abilities are being prioritized over that big picture, strategic, conceptual thinking.
All right, let's pivot to Section 4, the gender divide explained.
Here's a wild stat for you. In Iran, women actually make up over 60% of university entrances. They are highly educated and entering the workforce in rapidly increasing numbers. Yet, when we look at the self-reported skills data, it reveals a pretty stark divide. While men and women score almost identically when it comes to human skills, both hovering around 23.3, men report significantly higher proficiency in both technical and conceptual abilities.
It is absolutely crucial that we contextualize this. Are women just naturally worse at conceptual skills? No way. These lower self-reported scores do not reflect a lack of innate cognitive ability. We have to remember that management skills aren't entirely innate. They are acquired through practice, organizational investment, and targeted training. In the Iranian workplace, female executives often face intense systemic barriers. We're talking about a persistent glass ceiling, biased treatment from historically male-dominated top management, and wildly unequal access to crucial training resources. And honestly, it makes total sense. When you're denied the opportunity to practice and be trained in strategic decision-making, your self-reported conceptual skills are naturally going to be lower.
Moving into Section 5, age and experience matter.
In Iran's deeply hierarchical culture, age and experience are traditionally afforded a ton of respect. It's often just assumed that older means wiser. And you know what? The empirical data actually backs this up. When you compare professionals with under 5 years of management experience to those with over 6 years, the veteran group scores significantly higher across the board in technical, human, and conceptual categories. And the study found the exact same trend for age, with respondents over 31 years old vastly outperforming the younger workers in all 3 skill sets.
And this brilliantly illustrates the why behind those numbers. Why is the older group scoring so much higher? Well, because cognitive and conceptual skills are highly adaptable and trainable. Organizations tend to invest heavily in their older, more experienced workers simply because they see a more immediate return on investment. This creates a really powerful, positive feedback loop. Think about it. The more experience you have, the more you're trusted with complex problems, the more training you get, and consequently, your accumulated knowledge and conceptual abilities just dramatically increase.
Finally, let's bring it all home with Section 6, Takeaways for Modern Organizations.
So, the crucial point is, what do we actually do with all this? We've got the academic data, we understand the historical context, the gender disparities, and the undeniable value of experience. Now we have to translate this into pragmatic, real-world applications for HR leaders, educators, and multinationals looking to build strong global teams. Based directly on the study's findings, here are the core actionable takeaways. First up, organizations need to shift away from rigid task-based training and move toward flexible, skill-based training that actually allows workers to adapt to a changing global market. Second, because conceptual skills were the weakest link across the board, but are literally the most necessary for top management, companies have got to actively invest in conceptual skill development to build up those future strategic leaders. And third, organizations must actively dismantle the systemic barriers facing female professionals. Providing equal access to training and support isn't just the right thing to do, it will unlock a massive wave of organizational potential and productivity.
I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to take back to your own workspace. How is your organization actively investing in conceptual skills to prepare its diverse future leaders? The data makes it crystal clear. Strategic, big-picture thinking doesn't just happen by accident. It requires deliberate, inclusive investment.